too. You coming back from Jamaica, you were saying the convenience on why like America versus the other countries and like how America just has certain conveniences compared to other, I guess. Would you say are you talking about like first world countries or just Americas in general?
Um, I'd say a mix between both because there are some Caribbean countries that are like, considered second world countries. They have, what it would their GDP is enough to be considered that.
Yeah,
But for what we know as like America as a first world country versus a majority of the other first world countries we have in the world, it's um it's of course definitely the massive convenience. But then again, there is like Japan, which has insane amounts of convenience. Um, as well as places in Europe as well. But it's not like there's tons of 24-hour things going on in like Europe. It's all what we see on like Japan with like their convenience stores like 7-Eleven, fucking
yeah,
Lawson's. Those they have 24/7. That's amazing. But like coming from where we grew up in New York City, like New York City itself, like has tons like the NYC subway, MTA, 24 hours, only place in the world that has that. Like you don't really get that sort of availability
yeah.
in places like the Caribbean and other European countries. So for me coming back from Jamaica, like yes, I did suffer from like lacks of convenience, being able to get food whenever you want. It's not something that you usually get, but the way the laid backness of it, the chill, the great weather at all times, like
Yeah,
I don't think I would ever want to give it up. The nightlife is always good as well. Like everyone's cool and chill. I mean, yes, there are some problems when it comes to every place in the world has their problems with crime. Everywhere in the world has their problems with, you know, money and public services, but that's like the least of people's problems when it comes to Jamaica. Like in like the segments where everyone is like chill and everyone is like in the country and whatnot, like but if you go into cities, cities always have that sort of problem.
yeah,
Cities
yeah,
always have
yeah.
their metro issues or people issues because that's what it is. But shit, I me leaving there was like the saddest thing in the world because I like left in the probably the best time of the year. The best time of the year in terms of like the winter in Jamaica, it's not hot. It's like you don't like you sweat, but it's not like
Oh,
scalding. So like when you go to like like in Texas, it's like 80 to 90 degrees,
it's
but like
it's
it's
fucking
disgusting.
it's terrible. It's the fucking worst.
So you compare that to like cool 80, 90 degrees, but like not insane humidity or anything like that. It's just
Yeah.
relaxing. So, man, overall, I do want to go back. I'm going to go back this year because I have some like family stuff to take care of. Setting up a place to live as well, and
Yeah.
getting my passport set up again. Uh,
Oh damn, yo, you really trying to go back. It's funny that you talk about like the relaxation and everything and stuff like that because when I think about that when I go to like Europe, like when I've been to like obviously Spain, Amsterdam, and now my next trip Italy, like everyone talks about like and I'm going and I'm not trying to like I'm gonna visit Rome, but like my main place I want to go is Naples. And I'm like I don't really want to be in like the big major cities, but like all I understand about Europe is that they are not as pressed for money as we are in America. I swear, and they're like, "Oh, everything's okay," and I'm like, "Nah, I need more." And they're like, living life, not really stressed about that. They're more worried about like family and social and other stuff like that than they are worried about money. And I'm like, I get it. Like you said, like America, we do have a very high convenience for things, but I don't know. I be thinking about it sometimes. America's not bad. It's not bad.
no,
Right?
it
Like,
ain't. It ain't too bad, but
it ain't.
there are things that could be improved because we have the means to do it, but we just don't do it.
I don't think there's a lot of countries out there that can honestly match or do any better than America. I,
Yeah.
I, I don't think so. I'm like other than the fact that first of all, because I went when I was in Spain, one of the biggest things that worried me, I threw on the news for like 10 minutes, bro. there was so much terrorism stuff going on. I said, "Oh shit, I forget you guys are like right there to like all the other countries." I was like, "Damn, a blessing of America. I'm away from all this shit." He like,
Yeah,
I'm like, "What's the worst I gotta deal with? Cartel? That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
yeah,
dealing with the cartel versus constant bombings and all that other shit." Nah, I think most people don't understand the equivalence between Europe and America or the Caribbean and stuff like that. And then it was just one of those like pet peeves when, Donald Trump wins as president, they're like, "Oh, I'm leaving the country." And I'm like, "Where are you guys going?
where you going?
Please,
Like for real.
please tell me." Like, cause I'll be like, we're very spoiled in America. We have a certain amount of things that this is how we live. And if you think that you're about to go anywhere else and expect something similar, sadly mistaken. Like, sadly mistaken. I know like a lot of things in Europe. One thing that most people be like, I spoke to this one girl about it. She was talking about how they don't have guns and you can't have a weapon in your home or something that can be used as a weapon if home invasions happen. So I was like, "Oh, so what are you supposed to do?" They're like, "Call the cops." I was like, "So if you telling me someone walks in your home and you have something to defend yourself," he was like, "You're gonna get in a lot of trouble for that, a lot of trouble." And I was like, "That's fucking dumb." She was like, "The only time you could ever have anything for like not necessarily home invasion, but if it's used for a extracurricular activity, so a baseball bat, everybody plays baseball, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, like shit like that." So nah, bro, that's. But how was Jamaica though? Like you were saying, like you said you went down there for family, things like that. How was it?
Yeah, it was a my cousin got married. Um so it's kind of crazy because I went there, what, 2 years ago? Well, it's now 2 years ago. Last summer of 2023 for my older cousin's birthday wedding. So like one that had been married before and then got married again, and then my cousin that is more closer to me, like
Yeah.
he got married to a woman from Serbia, and he
Okay.
knew her from like college and whatnot. So a new mixing of families within, my generation, which is nice. Uh, his wedding took place at um his childhood house.
Yeah.
Um, and on that side of the family, like on my mom's side of the family, we got like my uncle is like white up there in like the Jamaican government, sort of say. Like now he is. Before he was
Yeah.
like more of a private sector type of person, but now he's like now his name is written on the banknotes of Jamaica. So like now like when we go there, there's like security everywhere. It's like it's really different. But like the
Yeah.
house is
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful. Um Having to see all my family there, which is amazing. And also like the reception took place in the backyard. So like it was like we didn't have to go anywhere, which is
That was a
awesome. Like
nice ass
show up to
backyard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you
Yeah.
saw it on Instagram. Yeah, yeah. Um so with that, once the wedding was done, everyone wanted to hang out. Like pretty much all my cousins were there, from little babies all the way up to like, the older parts of the family.
Yeah.
And they the best part about it is that we all get to go to places that we did when we were children, but like now seeing it as we're older, it's like a little bit different. Things have changed. Like we used to go to, well, we still went this year, but when we were younger, we used to go to a beach called Hellshire Beach. And on Hellshire, it's where you could go to like the fish shops with fried fish and fried lobster,
Yeah.
like fried festival, bammy, all like the good stuff that you usually have. But over the years, due to them overfishing what they called parrotfish were like the protectors of the reef. So they have like a beak that like cuts coral and like cleans up coral and stuff like that. They overfish them, as a result, it ruined the coral reefs that protected the beach out in the ocean.
Yeah.
So over the years, a lot of erosion happened to the point where there's barely any beach left. There's like maybe a little sliver over in the corner. But like from what I remember as a child to where it is now is the fish shacks are there, like where you can like order your food and now, sit down and enjoy and look out in the ocean. The water is like right up against it now. Like before
Oh
you would
shit.
usually like walk out of the shack and you could like walk onto the beach and like have your food out there or have your food in like a covered area near the shacks. But now it's just like food and that's it. Because there's like
Yeah,
no
yeah,
beach.
yeah.
Which is
Damn.
sad. Like it is a sad thing to see, but it's because it's a public beach and not a private beach, which is a problem in Jamaica nowadays, is a lot of the nice, clean beaches or the nice areas that used to be very open to the public are now either privately owned or owned by a hotel chain. So,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
so it's just
There
a
goes
sad sight to
tourism
see.
again.
Yeah, tourism, but without tourism, Jamaica wouldn't be where it is right now.
Well,
But
yeah, 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 yeah. But it's always overdoing anything ruins everything. So
yeah,
it's the same typical bullshit about that. Nah, I've been thinking about going to Jamaica, but I have no interest. I don't know why, because it's like I don't know, because I like grew up in that, so it's just like all right, there's
no,
other shit to see. Like
no,
and I've
no.
been there, and I've been there. I was the last time I was there was like 14, so obviously I didn't get a real experience. But it's like I got other shit to see real quick because I feel like Jamaica's right there. Jamaica's
It
right
was
there, so
right
like
there, but
it is.
it's not going to be the same. Like I know like you haven't been there since you were 14 and whatever that experience might have been, like you as an adult now is miles different because you can go wherever the fuck you want. There are way more things you can do
Yeah, oh,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, and there's not like you just sitting on a resort all the time. Like you having some, family legacy there, but also, people like me where we can just like, if you want to just go for like a week, you can go for a week and travel the entire island in 1 week and
Yeah.
have fun.
I
So,
think so. I do remember going. I did travel a little bit. We went from like Kingston and uh Portmore to the other side to Mandeville, where my
mm,
dad stayed, and all this other stuff. So I did travel. I do remember all of it. But side note, it's weird. You're like when you talk about stuff like, oh, my cousin's getting married, and cousins close to me. I'd be like, it's weird seeing your friends talk about they getting married and having kids, and I'm like, who said that you're eligible to be an adult? Who signed that
no
off?
facts.
I have
That's so
my best
true.
friend has like a son, and I'm like, who told you can have a child? Like, and then him and his wife be talking. I'm like, who made y'all parents? Because you guys are terrible. You guys are still kids. You guys like, what's going on with y'all? But yeah, nah. We'll plan. I'll look into it. But like again, there's like I think there's more. I want to see more culture. And
Mhm.
since I grew up Jamaican, it's not like I don't think I'm gonna go and then it's like I said, like not experiencing a new culture because I know that culture. Now, if you're talking about like experiencing the island and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah,
But I think the culture is there regardless.
yeah.
Your mom's gonna keep it there forever. It's funny because now I just learned how to cook oxtail, and when I say it came out good,
Okay.
sure will, right? But like I'm trying to keep some of that culture with me because I know like I'm as washed of it as possible. But
Mhm.
like I'm trying to like stay within it, and that's why I'm thinking about going to Jamaica. But there's other places to go see right now,
Yeah, yeah.
and
There's like 170 something countries in the world, I
I
believe.
don't know. But I know for a fact there's like a few of them that like I said, like on my list of like countries, there's always been like the Netherlands, Italy, Japan, Colombia, Spain. I'm almost done with those, and then everything else can just come along or whatever the case is. But it's only one thing I do want to ask you because known you for super long. What got you into computers? Because since we were kids, you just knew that shit. You know, you just
I mean,
had a
what
thing for
you
it.
remember is what you remember as a kid, because of course, I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 28.
Okay, so yeah, there's that's a 4 year difference. It's about to be a small five. Well, no, your birthday's the same year as this, so
Yeah.
you're gonna be, yeah. It's a 4 year difference between us, and from what you remember hanging out with me when I was younger is, yes, I was into computers only until you were more aware of what I was doing. Because when you were younger, you always saw me playing like video games and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like normal console shit.
Nah, that's bullshit. Because I remember when you came and you told me, you said, "Yeah, I built my computer," and I was like, "How the fuck did you build a computer?" Like
And
you
that
had
wasn't,
abnormal issues. You're like, "Yeah, my computer got set on fire," and I'm like,
it did.
"Well," you're like, "What the fuck do you mean your computer got set on fire?" Yeah, yeah, it just happens. I'm like, "No, it doesn't. It doesn't just happen. It's just combust."
It didn't spontaneously combust because, to be honest, there was a little bit of malicious intent when it came to
Same.
the computer. So what had happened was, I still haven't told anybody this story except for you'll be the first person to actually hear this story. Um, so I had like an old
You know,
Dell,
remember
like,
this is live.
I know it's like not everyone's gonna know what it is, but so I had an old like Dell Optiplex, like that, those old like
Yeah,
gray and black computer, right? Like, I don't even know. It had like, it was shit. It was basically shit. It was basically made just to, like, you could play video games on it to, like, to a degree, like Counter-Strike back in the day 1.6, and a few other things. But like, I think I was in my junior year of high school. It was 2000, and I graduated in 2010. I graduated in 2010. So it was 2008 when I got it. And 2008 is when I was like, shit, like all my friends had computers, like higher end computers than I did and everything like that. And I was like, this piece of shit, like I can barely play Counter Strike with my friends. I was like, this is some bullshit. So what I did was I kind of like closed up the fans, not really the fans, but the intake to the
yeah,
computer to kind of overheat it a little bit. And I was like, this will, like, let it die quicker. But then I didn't realize was I was putting a lot of strain on the power supply, and the power supply ended up like shorting out as a result because it wasn't getting any airflow.
yeah.
I like I like jammed it in the corner near the heater because I was like, I want this thing to die so I can build a new computer.
So you're sitting here setting this computer up like, sorry, you did the Thanos. Sorry, little one. You
We're
pushed him into the corner. It's like you're gonna have to take an L for
taking it
me to
out for this
win.
one right now.
Yeah. Oh
And
shit.
so, um, when the power supply finally went, it kind of like sparked out, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I was putting Counter Strike at the time as well, so I was like, I was putting as much strain as possible on it. And when it actually went let go, I was like, "Pops, like, the computer just died." He's like, "Oh no!" It's just like, "Oh no!" And I was like, "Yeah, so I can't do my homework and shit." He was just like, "Okay, all right, whatever. Well, I know you've been wanting one for a while. Um, we'll just go down to Micro Center and, like, pick out some parts and, like, build a computer," because he also wanted to use it for like architecture and CAD and stuff. So
Yeah.
I found a way of like dual purposing it so that, I don't have to like take the full
Ah.
blunt of it. I'll be like, he could use it too. Just
You gotta trick
uh
them into buying the shit. You gotta, you want to use a new computer, right? So you
you
gonna get
know
some work done.
yeah, so once we got that set up, built it, it was like the high end of the high end when it came to like what was out at the time.
Yeah.
So when you came over when you were younger and you tried it out for the first time, that was the fastest computer you could get on the market at the time.
Crazy. I didn't fucking know that. I didn't know
Yeah.
that shit. Yeah. I'm like, all I see is like, oh shit, this is a nice ass fucking computer. This is nice. But this is before. I would say this is before PC even I say blow up as much as it did because for you to have a PC, you had to understand what you were doing because it wasn't as easy as it is now, where it's just like Steam, download your games, da da da. Nah, I feel like there was so much more to do. And even now, like I think even with these games now and stuff like that, like I be starting the games up, games won't work, and I'm like, they're like, you have to optimize your settings for your PC. I'm like, bitch, what you mean? Like, just it should just work.
Yeah, it
It
should
should
just
just
work.
fucking work.
Most of the time, it should be like that.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, even back in the day, we did have, we did have Steam, but only to like a certain degree. Like it
yeah,
was, of course, very in its base. It's still coming out, but the funnest thing about, building a computer at that time was like how you learned was YouTube. YouTube was where like the biggest people for computers were at the time.
yeah,
I remember him a long time ago. His name is 3D Game Man. He would like do reviews on cases and like graphics cards and also like monitors and stuff. And then as time went on, um, by that time I had learned how to build a computer from him and Linus. So Linus Tech Tips, he started coming out with like some build guides and whatnot.
yeah.
Um, and I was able to like, install Windows, install like everything I needed, for the computer to work. And of course at the time, like I'm still a massive pirate. Like I pirate everything. Like honestly, like they're honestly, everyone can say they don't, but everyone does. There's some things you just can't get, you just don't want to pay for because it's just like it's piracy is a result of economics. Like it's either you can't afford to get it or there isn't an availability to get it. So,
Okay,
in terms of like purchasing it, so you find other means. I'm not going to tell you how to get it, but there are
yeah,
other means of getting
yeah.
things.
Of course, yeah. I go back. I'll be like, hey, I need this. You'd be like, give me, give me 10 minutes. Let me do the, let me search. But why do you say that? No matter what, everybody pirates? Because I know some that are legitimately like trying to pay for shit. Like, and I'm like, why? They're like, oh, well, I want the most updated shit. And I'm like, why?
Why?
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
there's
Yeah,
other
to put
options
into
for things.
perspective, um, like first, let's use the biggest proponent of why people actually want to pirate things, and that is due to massive amounts of subscription services now we have these days.
Yeah,
So, like, if you look at Adobe has been sued many times because of their terrible, consumer practices when it comes to subscription services. So, if you want to unsubscribe from the Master Collection or the Creative Suite, you have to pay. Besides paying them a ridiculous amount of money up front, you also have to pay them to end your subscription. And the subscription model, the way that they have it is, if you want the Creative Cloud, you're looking at something in the realm of like $49 to $50, depending on get in it a month, and that over a course of a year is thousands of dollars. So you're paying well over $3,000+ a year for something that theoretically you do not own. At
yeah,
any point, they can take it away from you.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so when it comes to the reason of economics, it's that when they take it away from you, you can no longer have it. But if you already owned it per se, you would still have it in your possession. There's no way for them to
and
actually take it away from you. And to end a subscription service with Adobe is like $300. Why am I paying you to stop using a product that I paid for already, but particularly don't own?
so you're
So
damn near. So Adobe's contracting people low key.
yes, they're
Oh, that's
contracting
fucking
people to use
terrible.
their services, but in light of that service use, you don't actually get a chance to actually own the thing. So as
Own the
time goes
product.
on, as it updates, say like they add a new feature or whatever, that feature was always there. They just put it behind a paywall.
Oh, that's fucking trash.
That's trash. And the same thing with, like you listen to what has happened, like the gaming sphere and whatnot. Like as we're on this topic of computers, there is Ubisoft. You know how Ubisoft is like, they came out with a with like the triple A or quadruple A games and whatnot, like trying to like
Yeah,
scam people into like thinking that, hey, this is a tier higher than what is out there in the world. When theoretically, or in reality, it's not. So they
they
had
end up being
a,
actually worse.
yeah, they end up like not actually like um they'd actually like deliver on what they actually say. So I don't know if you heard what happened with this game called The Crew. So The Crew came out years ago. It was like a
Yeah.
open world type racing game and whatnot. It kind of allowed you to do a lot of things in similarities to like Forza
Okay.
Horizon, but like not exactly the same. It's more like laid back. So The Crew, of course, the servers are hosted by Ubisoft in order to be free to play online. Um, but as time goes on, they go to, the new versions of The Crew, they come out with the new versions of the game, and people still play the original because, they like it more than the new ones.
Yeah.
And what Ubisoft did was they're like, oh, we're closing down the servers. So you can't play online, you can't play multiplayer, but also they're shutting down the availability for you to actually start the game. You can't even play it even though you own it. Eh. So the
Oh,
single player
whoa.
aspect of the game is not even they
It's
well
not.
they backpedaled on it, but the fact of the matter that they came out saying that you wouldn't even be able to play a game that you own anymore is horseshit.
Which is I know people were arguing about this with the whole like downloading versus owning the disc or whatever. Even though now apparently the disc doesn't even do anything, which is stupid anymore because you have to even when you install a disc, you still have to download whatever content offline so then you can even play it. So I guess this is the shit that people are complaining about because they're like, if you really wanted to cut our service, you could. That we could not even log into our own save data and stuff like that, which is kind of the blow because everything's going to cloud and it's kind of like at any moment you could lose everything, but it's like a blessing and a curse because if you don't have to worry about half the shit like save data. Like, come on, I haven't had a memory card since however long, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think the last thing we ever had to have storage for because of space was like Xbox 360. Other than that, everything else was like everything else was on some cloud or whatever the case is.
Oh shit, you're
Um,
right.
yeah, with the when you have to take the fucking
The
hard
the
drive
thing
and
on the
slap it
top,
in,
yep.
yeah, slap that shit in. Um, something that I've mentioned this before. People think that as and obviously you were in the realm of computers. Um, you got your degree in computer
Computer
engineering,
systems. Computer
computer
systems.
systems.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a form of information systems, but it's kind of a mix of everything. So with like computer science, it's mostly like coding and algorithms.
so that
Computer
shit is
engineering.
garbage.
Yeah, we've gone through the ringer with that shit. I know that.
Oh, fuck computer science. But you were
Computer
saying
science
computer
is
engineering.
computer engineering is a mix of hardware, computer hardware, which is like
Yeah.
PCBs and oscilloscopes and things like that, capacitors, logic gates. Um, and then there's like information systems, which is kind of a mix of like computer security and like understanding the ins and outs of like how an operating system works.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's like computer systems, which is like information security, computer science, um, data science. It's like a mixture of like all of those things that you would have individually and kind of put them in one.
Okay.
And not very many colleges have it, but when I went to the city college, they had that degree, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This gives me the ability to like learn networking, learn computer security, learn computer science, learn how to code, learn how to make websites. Like I know how
Okay.
you should learn everything in one and then throws it into one singular major.
Is
And
it one of those things where it's a mile wide, inch deep, or is it like in certain aspects you do get a little bit more depth?
you can get more depth in certain specific criteria if you decide to choose your electives within the
Okay,
major
okay,
itself.
okay, okay.
So you can have your standard classes that you would need for your credits, but also you have the availability for some electives that you can match with certain classes. Like I had a web design course, but also had an elective that you could take, which would then be like web design like two, but web design for like cybersecurity or web design for, other areas, which then allow you to specialize a little bit more
A
if
little
you
bit
were
more.
interested into it. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
So,
So going with that, right? Like, what is something that most people do not understand about the whole I wouldn't say tech field because tech is such a broad term and everyone's like, oh, once you're in tech, it's like you're good. But like you just said, like there's networking, there's security, there's I would say shit, like you said, like there's information technology, there's data analytics, there's data science, there's everything else. So
Mhm.
what's something that from what you've seen in like a broad term, what's something that people are misinterpreting about the tech field?
um, their privacy. A lot of people misinterpret like privacy when it comes to the tech field. When you're like installing something or you're adding an app or you're looking through an app, um, people don't read the privacy policy like ever.
No, that's the
Like no
biggest
one
lie
ever does
ever.
that.
We all agree to it, and they're like,
Everyone
"Do
agrees
you
to it.
read?"
Like, or the terms of service. No one ever reads the
Yeah,
terms of service. Like, I personally, what I do with terms of service or privacy policies, I just take them like, well, now that because we have AI, like at our fingertips, I take it. I like copy the whole thing. I put it into like ChatGPT or put it into cloud, and I have it summarized and be like, yo, show me all of the things within this privacy policy or terms of service that would like be very against me as a consumer or things that I should really look for or summarize the whole thing for me so I can
yeah,
just see what I'm getting into. So this happens a lot where people get in an uproar because a company or a app or whatever, especially like X right now, changes something within their terms of service and people are like with arms about it, but it's because they don't actually read what it is and
yeah,
understand the nuances of it. They immediately like pitchforks and everything like, oh, they're ruining this or they're ruining that, or in reality they're making it so that it's not to protect you, it's always to protect themselves.
yeah.
So they don't understand how anti-consumer a lot of these companies are out here. And when someone's in tech, they have a little bit more of an understanding about it. And that's only because they're able to interpret it, in a sense that's, a little bit higher in the intelligence level. Like
So what
for
would you say
someone
is
to
an
bring it
example?
down, yeah.
Like, what's an example you think that like most people aren't noticing when it comes to privacy? Is it, are you talking about like giving up their like information stuff like that? Because that's like a big thing now. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
giving up the
companies are stuff.
information, but
Yeah.
also, the most recent example would be X. So X changed in their terms of service um, that anything that you post is available for them to use and train their AI model on. So,
Okay.
anything you post, anything you say, anything you type on X is available for them to use for their AI model. So that is a big thing in changes of privacy because then again, like if you are typing something on X and you so happen to accidentally dox somebody, now that is out there in the world. And now an AI model will know exactly what to use with that if someone were to like want to use it for malicious intent. So
Mm.
when people need to be a little bit, more vigilant when it comes to things like that, because they always think that, okay, I'm putting my stuff on the internet. Yes, it's out there. Because as soon as you post anything, there's no getting it back.
Yeah,
It's
not at
someone
all.
has it. It's in the world for everyone to see. Um, and when people mistakenly do something, they can't take it back, especially when, it's on a platform that is so, I would say, toxic as fuck.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah, yeah, yeah.
toxic.
Yeah, X, Twitter, X, whatever. It doesn't. they're not known for their welcoming place. I don't think any social media is really there for any welcoming. You're not safe anymore on any social media. So don't post, don't put anything out there that you are not ready for backlash to be screenshotted, to be saved on, or to be used in an argument later. So
Yeah.
nah, you're right. Yeah. Mm.
So what scares you the most about, not scares you, but what do you see in the world of tech coming from someone who went to the Marines, you worked with, tech on a government level? What do you see there in comparison to what I see as someone who lived in the corporate area?
Um, well, I would say like when I was in the Marine Corps, like the we were doing system admin stuff, so there wasn't too much there. I will say like a lot of the stuff was outdated. I'll tell you that much. Marine Corps was just behind on things. Now, where I work now, I can't talk too much on what we do,
Mm.
but I always say like people are worried about the wrong things when it comes to like what they're putting online. Okay, like you're worried about this, you're worried about that. Trust me, when people are like, "Oh, I don't want to put my information out there," and I'm like, "Trust me, we don't care about little Joe Schmo that's working a 9 to 5. You you do your taxes. Like we're not worried about you. Trust me." So one thing I will say is like I'm I can't say that I'm behind, but like there's nothing that you wouldn't know about tech that the government has that is like so substantial above. Not in the slightest. Um, all the jobs that we do within the field is done outside. Like you wanna we have people that are analysts. It's the same thing outside. You wanna, pen test, we have that outside. So all that stuff is all the same. So um one thing I will ask you then, what's your take on certs versus degrees?
Oh, search versus degree, that's pretty much all based on financials. Like it gives you the same thing, but there are certain degrees in the world where a certification isn't, the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to, say, like, of course, masters of business, things like master's degrees as a whole, um, there are certain ones that cannot be substituted with a certification. Like, you would just have to go
And
to,
so in the tech field, because they broadcast that all day. Oh, if you get this cert, everybody will love you, and you're like,
no, it's not really that, because a cert and a degree are just saying that you have done it, but that doesn't mean you have experience in it.
okay,
So experience versus a degree are two big, very different things. Because I have, an AWS cert, I have a Python cert, I have a Google cert, but like that just gets you in the door per se. Until you actually get to where they are talking to you about it, where you have to explain it, and where you have to um, produce some sort of produce your use and knowledge of it to them, that's where, it all changes. So for me personally, I would say a it's a circumstantial thing,
yeah,
because I want to do a master's degree in like information systems or business for information systems and stuff. There aren't any really good accredited certifications for it. Like you can do a certification, but it's not really going to give you the amount that you would do if I were to go to like Columbia, or if I were to go to like some sort of city school and
okay,
learn it there. Because for one, like I said, it's a financial situation. Like you can get a cert for cheap. Um, Whereas if you go to a school and like actually you're either in class or you're doing it online, you have interactions with people. Like that's where you learn more of it. Because I would say, in retrospect to what you learned in the Marine Corps, or what you're learning now, or when you learn learning more and more within tech, like you learning it on your computer by yourself versus when you're learning in a classroom with people.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a completely different atmosphere.
It's a complete
Completely.
aspect. Yeah.
So,
So
would you say that certs can kind of get you to a level of like a bachelor's, but then that master's is just triumphs whatever cert you can get?
yeah, yeah, I feel that is what it is because you have discussions with people who think differently from you. And some
Okay.
certs, they do have discussion boards within themselves, like between sections. They'll
Yeah.
like say, hey, like, let's interact or let's, have some sort of discussion, but it's not mandatory. You don't have to do it. Whereas when you're in class or when you're in a master's degree or when you're actually doing a degree, those are mandatory because the interactions is what help build your understanding of the topic or understanding what you want to
Mm.
do.
Because
So
I've always looked at it differently. I thought about it as when you have your bachelor's or your certs and stuff like that, and obviously getting out of the Marine Corps and then working in cybersecurity now, I've always thought as this: your degree, I've always seen it as it's the same as a cert, but for some reason, a degree will get you in a more of a managerial or supervisor position. Your certs will get you to work, but not that they won't, first you have to get through the door and stuff like that, but like with your certs, it just shows, okay, you got in, you know how you can do the job, and we're gonna have you do the job. But when you're here, we're gonna analyze you a little bit more if you ever want to step up for supervisor and stuff like that. But a bachelor's or just your degree in general shows that like I don't know why because obviously I don't work in that realm, but why is it that your degree makes you just so much better as a supervisor or some type of manager when you obviously we know a few people that are never went to college, amazing at this computer shit, amazing at whatever field they're in, but they're just workers. Why would they take a guy that did his that's gone to college over a guy that just got his cert as a manager or a supervisor? Why would they do that?
because they have people interactions, there's a difference. When you're just learning to learn, so there are people who are extremely, of course, as you said, people are extremely good at what they do. But the issue is they can't lead. You learn leadership skills in school, whereas you don't learn them at home by yourself. You need to
Oh,
you need to learn those leadership skills with people, and you learn it from your teacher because your teacher is leading you through and giving you pointers and making you help you understand what it is to make certain decisions. Whereas, say, a person who's gone through like all the Google certs and like is super good at like building a website or even like coding, whatever it might be, they're going to hire him, but they're not going to put him in a leadership position. They're going to put him as like a senior where he's under somebody who is delegating the work to him and he's able to do it extremely well.
oh, shit. It's crazy that you say that. So right now, my big thing was I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was like you said, I know this cybersecurity shit, but compared to the people that are working underneath me, they do this shit way better. But if it's one thing that I was able to do was like you said, like I delegate the work, being able to communicate, being able to process the information, knowing how to speak on it, and then presenting it to higher ups, and how to
Mhm.
present it and stuff like that. That's crazy that you say that because people don't understand that you can be great at your job, but you will just be like you'll be the shadow man. Like you would just do everything in the background. Like you will never be presenting any of it. And you can speak on it all day, but I've noticed that a lot of those people suck at talking to other people about what they do. Cause then and they suck at teaching as well. Because they're like the worst people to explain shit. They're like, you don't know what that is? You're like, no, fucker. That's why I'm asking you. But like, that's crazy that you said that because and I didn't think about the how much interaction you go through while in school. But you do go through constant interactions. Like even through online college, because I did half of my degree online, and you still have to do discussion posts. You still have to respond to people. You still have to do. You might have like some type of group project where you still have to interact with people, and you're like,
Exactly.
bro, this is. But like you said, it does challenge your mindset and makes you think a little bit better. Yeah, holy shit, oh shit. It's
When you
funny
get
because
that realization.
most people don't think about that. And then I enjoyed college. You know, some people won't, but like I was like you said, like there's certain things that I did go through in college where I did learn, like speech classes, communication classes
Mhm.
were part of my fucking, what is it called?
Curriculum.
Thanks. Your curriculum to like even get to even get into fucking cybersecurity. They're like, oh, you have to take a speech class. You wonder like why, but now that you say it like that, it's like people are going to pick you up and then be like, we need you to run this shit. That's it.
Yep.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah. When I, well, I'll give you a little bit of a story. When I was working at Escape, which is a robotics startup. Well, it's a spa wellness robotics startup. So what they did was they built a massage table that has two robotic arms that massage your back, your glutes, and your thighs,
Yeah.
all through AI body scanning and learning off actual masseuses. So you can look it up online as well. Like it's now been out there. It's been out there when I was there. They launched during the summer of 2024,
Okay.
and after that, it kind of blew up in a way. Like you see it on Instagram a lot. You'll see it on TikTok a lot. It's a very niche product because it's more for people that don't like to be touched, but also for those who are always on the go, those type of people. Um, I built in the starting of it, they had already gotten to a certain degree of it, but I came in at a point where they needed IT for the whole company, which is because they're growing at such a rate, as well as the infrastructure for the robot itself.
Yeah.
So the internals of the robot has um, like three individual machines that run different parts of the programming. Um, and I was tasked to um, develop the infrastructure within it so that all three of those can talk together, as well as provisioning and automating the provisioning of those computer systems within it. So without those three computers in it, like there would be no massage robot. But
Yeah. It would just be three different parts. So just
it'll be three different parts in itself, but um, collectively, as they brought those all together, um, at that point the robot was pretty much done. But it still has problems. Then you go to um, QA and product and all that
yeah,
stuff, and
yeah,
they bring
yeah.
all those stuff together. But the team there, it's incredible amount of people, like insanely smart people, like cannot be more happy that I learned what I learned there. Um, but the craziest thing about learning in that environment was the different levels of seniority. Like I was talking to people who were like VPs at a high level. I was talking to the
Yeah.
CEO on a daily basis. Um, like it was a way for me to really learn how to communicate with stakeholders, as they call them. So stakeholders are people within their certain departments that hold a um, decisive, interactive, and calculative uh, way of getting work done. Like
Yeah, yeah,
those
yeah.
people are like, they're not project managers, sort of say. Like project managers just help the whole team all together, but like the head of product is considered a stakeholder. The head of marketing is considered a stakeholder. things
Okay.
like that. So what would then they would then go to the CEO with things from the lower end people. So
Yeah.
being able to communicate what you're able to do to them is then brought up the chain to the CEO, and then the CEO then goes to the shareholders, which are really the people in power anyway, because they have all the fucking money. Uh, but if I didn't learn how to basically handle, like, I was a one man army. Like, I would say jack of all trades, master of none,
Mhm.
sort of thing. So, like, I wasn't particularly good at one thing. I can do a lot of things very, very good.
Yeah.
So, with that, I had to be able to take being able to handle IT and onboarding for all the new hires and stuff to the network infrastructure of the office building in San Francisco and New York. Um, Also handling facilities for entrance into the building, security in that regard, like buzzing in with like a key fob and
Yeah.
things like that. Um, the security of like the building in terms of like door access within the building itself. All of that had to be built up by me because they didn't have it before. They had a rudimentary system of it.
Oh, shit. That's
So
like different. That's not. It's funny because you were talking about computers and everything else. That's not even just that. That's like every system within the building.
yeah.
Okay. Fuck.
So with with that, I had to talk to many different types of stakeholders to tell them, hey, I did this for the network so that, the the engineering team, the computer engineering team, as well as the actual like hardware engineering team had the ability to connect to wherever they wanted to connect
Yeah.
um, the machines like through SSH and things of that nature. So all that VPNs, securing all the computers, single sign-on, like just
Yeah.
everything that you would need in order to handle the infrastructure of a company for them to actually do their work was handled by me as a single person.
You damn near built the foundation of a whole company.
Yes, I did that for 2.5 years
What the
or
fuck?
1.5 years. No, 1.5 years.
It's crazy because most people, again, don't understand how much in depth that takes to get done. Because, we think about it, we just go, oh, it happens, right? Because you're like, you join a company, oh, wow. But then when you're like building anything up, you're like, you don't know how much work this shit takes to,
Mhm.
like you said, from as small as getting into the building with a key fob to single sign on or VPNs to even get work done. So, shit. Where do you think, and this is like, I guess this is like my the big thing right now. Where do you think AI is going? Because AI is on everything, and I'm saying this right now. If anybody that's getting into the technology field, if you're not focused on AI, you should,
Mhm.
because AI is not going to. I don't think AI is going to take over, but it's going to be in damn near every fucking system now. Like it's in everything. It's on everything. It simplifies our work by like I would take me a 3 hour project. Like if someone was like, "Hey, do a presentation," like someone said, "Oh, go do this," I can legitimately go to any AI, tell them to produce me a presentation, rework it in the way that it looks for me.
Mhm.
What 30 minutes? 30 minutes or so? Where do you think AI is going?
Well, AI is AI is also a scary thing, but as you just explained, like how often do you use AI like as a whole, like per day?
Now it's getting more frequent. It's becoming more frequent where like I have an idea and I'm like, oh shit, let me go see if this can help generate more, thoughts in my head. So it depends. It depends. But I could say I have to do reviews for like people that are under me, and I'm like writing it. I'll write a review out as shitty as I can write it. Copy paste chat GBT. I need you to spit this out like this, da, 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 with this formality. Boom, gives it back. Perfect.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that. That's what I use it for too. I mostly like use it as a way to formalize things that I instead of like me personally like taking which is what you should do as a person is to actually take the time to formalize and write properly. But when you're in a time crunch, it's probably one of the best tools out there. Like, hey, like I need this done really quickly because I only have like what 10 minutes before I have to go somewhere. Or like writing an email. Like I would write out like maybe a sentence and be like formalize this into like whatever, like a couple of paragraphs or whatever in order
yeah,
for me to like explain what I want to explain, but I don't have to do it in a way that would be so time consuming as it would be. But um AI itself, even from the creator of AI, his name escapes me at the moment, but he said something as in the next 30 to 50 years, we have to be very concerned about the conscience and um, the way that AI could think on its own because it has the ability to do so. It's all that we as a people have to be able to um, control it. And there are times when AI has gone rogue and they have shut them down as a result. So giving it the free reign to think is one way of speeding up our lives and being able to do amazing things. But then again, it's also a very dangerous thing because it can find its way into things that it shouldn't. So I do remember a story back in the day where they let AI run free reign a little bit and it almost got its hands on nuclear codes. So we have to be very careful about shit like that.
so AI does have so what you're saying is that there are limiters on AI currently.
Yeah, yeah, there are limiters. They have to put limiters on it because its ability to become sentient is a thing. And as we've had movies in the past like Terminator and things like that. Nobody wants Skynet, but
Ah,
Skynet itself is kind of what we already had now. Like we already have a Skynet, but it's just, controlled.
yeah.
So it has the ability to think in a certain way that, humans wouldn't be able to comprehend. And the whole idea of how I use AI and how I want to use AI as a person is just to make the tedious things simple. So things you have to repeat automation
Yeah.
wise, things like that, like that's the perfect use of AI is just letting like letting us as humans get on with like other things and
Yeah.
leave the mundane things to AI and automation to handle.
That and creative generators, things like that. I think
Hmm.
that's the perfect way to leave it. Yeah. Hey, help me with this, help me with that. Like you said, nobody reads the Christmas email that goes out by the company. No,
Hmm.
let a AI generate that. Um, the whole create an image on this and stuff like that, whatever, whatever. Now, I will say with media, I think that's very dangerous.
Hmm.
I focus a lot into media now, with the cybersecurity and stuff, and like you can tell how dangerous AI could like start fucking with stuff. Um, because now you can have anything put out, whatever video, post, pictures, so on and so on. And you want to talk about like propaganda out of the ass? Oh yeah, yeah. Which again, great for little people that are just like, oh shit, my fucking oh, I need this photo generated or whatever the case is. Great, but the aspect. What's the one famous video that keeps going around about the car being on fire, and everybody was like, yeah, this is AI generated, and I'm like, y'all don't know what y'all doing. Like, Oppenheimer, the being the Prometheus of like creating the nuclear bomb. You don't know what you're doing. Y'all just open up a whole new fucking world of
Mhm.
issues that we're gonna have to like know how to counteract. So, and if you're talking about there's limiters on it, what happens when people start making AIs without limiters? Because eventually, some random motherfucker in his basement is going to start creating an AI. Who limits that? What
See,
happens if, yeah, what happens if regular people starts creating AI?
that's where the problem is, where we're not getting to that point as of yet, but there is still possibilities. The amount of hardware and power needed to generate a good AI
Yeah,
is massive scale, massive scale. The amount of GPUs you need in order to really handle um, complex calculations, allowing it to actually like learn and produce things quickly, is needed for, it needs a lot of horsepower, basically, a lot of computing power for it. But now that, recently, NVIDIA just released its new 50 series GPUs.
hmm,
Those GPUs, like if you had like three of those top tier ones, then again, it costs a lot of money to run them anyway. You could produce your own AI. Like people
first
have
off,
done it as of now, and people do it now, but it's the amount of money that's needed in order to generate such a good one, because they have open source ones. There's Llama AI that's open source. There's
yeah,
Olama. Um, those are great. It's just that like you just need the horsepower to run it. So for someone to build an AI at home, like yes, totally possible. The knowledge is there. You can use an AI to build an AI. It's-
yeah,
it-
that's the
it-
other scary shit. Like people are like, oh yeah, I want to go into programming. I'm like, AI is gonna get very fucking good at that too, right? Like AI is gonna get good to program other shit where all we're gonna need are QA.
Yeah, and there's still issues a lot like nowadays where like AI just spits out garbage code, but that's only because we're feeding it garbage code and it's learning from our garbage code to where it can't differentiate what's actually good and what's not.
Yeah,
So um there are there are limitations. There are limitations to AI itself in producing certain things. Um, for even within the creator itself. Like people want to create an AI for themselves so that they don't have to, say, use ChatGPT, Claude, or others of that nature in order to create their own art and stuff like that. Because
yeah,
there's still a lot of backlash between AI and artists, because AI needs something to train on, but your art is out there and it's yours. It's your art, but then AI will take your art and like make it a little different, and then then it's not yours anymore.
not yours. Yeah, damn near
So
exactly the same, still your style, but not yours
yeah,
anymore.
so
Mm.
that aspect of it, of course, screws me. Like I don't really like it all that much, because I like the fact that people create things. I'd like to see humans still doing things and not have AI do everything for us. Then we become complacent, we become lazy. It's going to end up the movie like Wally. We're going to become fat, sitting in our seats in space, ruin the earth. Like
Yeah.
we don't want that. Uh, um, I think the overall nicest thing about what people and AI can do together to actually benefit the world is allowing our integration of it to not become complacent, but only to use it as a tool to enhance our current thinking. Like
Okay.
if say you yourself wanted to do a small creative thing, but you yourself have an idea that AI can, make it a little bit better, but you don't want it to become dehumanized. That's the problem. We can see the difference between AI and a human very easily. And that's why, in schools, they all have problems with like, kids using AI to do their homework and stuff like that. Because you can tell when an AI does your homework, um, it's just sometimes too precise. Like you can do things in the world and you can do things on your homework, Whereas like you're gonna make a small mistake there, but AI will not make a mistake when it comes to that because everybody knows the answer to that already.
Yeah.
So when it comes to what you do in cybersecurity, um, like AI can be used to help find, you know, detections and things like that in order to
Yeah.
make our lives safer on the internet. But then again, you give it too much power within that, it will then realize that, you know, its sentience, if it was given no limiters, its sentience can be like, oh, these humans are not doing what they should be doing in order to, you know, live life properly.
Sounds
And
like every movie.
it sounds like every fucking movie.
Sounds like
Yeah,
every fucking movie. You humans suck.
yeah.
You're not doing shit right. Let's
You know,
lock
you're
shit up.
killing each other. Like, why are you
Yeah.
doing this? Like, this is not right. And that's where, that's where I'm just like, I don't want AI to get to that point, but there are powerful people in this world that will do whatever it takes in order to control every aspect of our lives.
I was about to ask you. I was like, and military thinking and everything else, but like AI falling into the wrong hands, not, and obviously not falling into the wrong hands like that, but like you were saying, like creating your own AI, um, creating your own AI for the wrong sets of people would probably be devastating if you're, because that's what I was talking about. Like, if there are limiters, what happens if the wrong people create an AI with no limiters or just with malicious intent? Like,
Mhm.
how far can they go with that? Like,
I mean, it's already been done. People had them. People have done it already. They've used AI for, you know, botnets, things like that, in order to
yeah,
like DDoS things. Um, and that's where like
yeah, but that's
government.
that's like specific function. We're talking about, like you said, an AI that can possibly damn near think for itself. Botnets and everything else are being told what to do on a certain level.
Mhm.
What happens if you let it be creative by itself? We're gonna have fucking Mission Impossible with Death Protocol, whatever the last one was. We're gonna have the fucking being fucking up the internet. I think about it like that because of the fact that you have we use it so much, and like you said, like people are using these everyday internet stuff and accessing Chat GPT and like you said, putting their information out there, stuff like that. What happens when I'm in America, so I'm going to say China. What happens if China's like, you know what? We're just going to create an AI. We're going to allow AI to get over there. We're going to allow them to, use it up as much as they want, and then use it to fuck over their whole system. Listen, I think about shit like that because, and you start to notice how much shit you people put out there and what's being watched and what can be used. That's the other shit. And like even now, like even with the fucking Riverside app, like I just realized recently I could use my own voice and type out my own script and have it produce a like a voice projection of me. Bro, I pay like $30 for Riverside. Why is it doing this? Like this is like I'm paying $30. So what
You
happens
know,
if you have someone that has an abundance of money for that shit?
yeah. And the thing is, there's a quote um that I read about like what AI really is like what and when you asked about like, you know, what people don't understand about it is the
Yeah.
fact that the greatest danger of like artificial intelligence is that people conclude too early that they understand what it is.
Mm.
So the fact that people don't really know what artificial intelligence is makes it more of a danger to us than artificial intelligence itself. So the fact that people just think, you know, oh, it will do whatever I ask, um, it actually lacks intelligence itself. Like the word AI is such a weird thing because it's not. wholly artificial
Yeah.
because it's not really a brain. Like we can make neural pathways and make it act like a brain, but it isn't really a brain until, there's an actual level of intelligence behind it where it can start to think for itself. And that's where
Essentially,
like
we're feeding the information to AI to then be smarter. So the more shit that we're putting out there, essentially, is making AI better.
it's making it better, but also dumb. There's levels to it. Like
Okay.
because because you can't train something that doesn't have a way of going out and learning for itself because that's what we want AI to do, but AI doesn't have the ability to do that yet without, you know, well, in the ways of a large language model. Like there's different types of artificial intelligence. I really don't really like using that word because a large language model isn't really artificial intelligence. That's just a model of information given to it.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence itself, like building something that thinks like a brain and actually is a brain, um, I'm pretty sure the government has these sort of things. I don't look too far into artificial intelligence and what AI has been producing in the world. All I know is that it has the ability to take what we give it and then produce its own thinking behind it. Those do exist, but not to the general public. Someone could build something like that themselves,
Yeah.
but the amount of, as I said before, the amount of horsepower technology and just raw computing power that you need to create that is on a massive scale. So it's all about generative. That's what it really is. It's generative AI. It generates something for us that we have input ourselves. Um, it's an awe-inspiring thing, but
Yeah.
to unpack all of it, um, his name is Godfrey Hilton. That's the guy. He's like the godfather of AI. He's like kind of started it, and he's warning that like new models themselves are getting smarter, but he actually regrets creating AI as a whole.
I'm not surprised because, like I mentioned earlier, if you ever watch Oppenheimer, the same shit. Like when you create something that good, there's like a you just open up the door to hell, another door to hell that you didn't think. Even if you had great intentions, great, but you don't know what else you just opened the door to. And like you just said, most really brilliant inventors, like not businessmen, but like inventors, end up not hating what they invented, but they notice like, oh, like they know shit. I didn't mean for that to also come through the door. It was just supposed to be this.
Mhm.
It man.
So when we're talking about like someone using it for malicious intent, like think of say like Russia, our current like enemy in the world, the
Yeah.
US's current enemy in the world, right? So like for example, thinking of a worst case scenario, and this is what he said, Godfrey Hilton said, is if Vladimir Putin decided to give robots the ability to create their own sub goals, which is like them thinking of like you give it a goal, but then it's able to think within that goal itself in order to, carry out whatever it has been given to do.
Yeah.
So if you think about that on a scale by a bad actor like Vladimir Putin or, the Russian military, like that's giving Terminator vibes. That's giving like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like the end of the world type of thing, because that's where the real danger of its intelligence is, because we're biological, but our ability to develop and change and give that to a digital system with access to every connection in the world is a nightmare scenario for the end of times.
You know,
You should,
sometimes it just makes you think like, damn, why? You know, I always said we didn't need much else after like 2016. 2016 was a good time in life. We had
Mhm.
everything we needed, and
Yeah.
look, now we going through damn fall. Fuck. Shit, man. Well, as we'll end up talking about this again. But let's see what happens with 2025 because every year something new comes the fuck out. And like you said, AI is aggressively progressing. Like
Mhm.
it's the jumps keep happening in shorter time periods. So, bro, been real.
It
Glad to
has
have
been.
you here, man. Let's say and talk. We could talk about this shit all day. Again, I've always talked to you about this shit. So